Giridvaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrama Srimad His Divine Grace Abhoy Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Statara Sutta Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai Niskan BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Namsagaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Sri Sri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Shamaveto Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai Thai Go Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Guru. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Aschatya Desatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from the first canto, chapter 2. This is text 7. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyasu Bharagyam Janayatyasu Jnanam Chayarahaitukam Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Asu Bharagyam Jnanamschaya Rahaitukam Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Asu Bharagyam Jnanam Chaya Rahaitukam Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janati Ashu Bharagyam Yatcha Rahaitukam Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Yasu Bharagyam Jnanam Chayat Rahaitukam Jnanam Yatchayat Rahaitukam. Ladies? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahoitukam. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayasya Subharagyam Jnanam Chayat Rahaitukam. Word meanings? Vasudeve unto Krishna. Bhagavati unto the personality of Godhead. Bhakti Yoga contact of devotional service. Prayojitaha being applied. Janayati does produce. Ashu very soon. Vairagya detachment. Jnanam knowledge. Cha and yat that which ahaitukam causeless. Translation: by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. By rendering service unto the personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna. One immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Those who consider devotional service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna to be something like material, emotional affairs may argue that in the revealed scriptures, sacrifice, charity, austerity, knowledge, mystic powers, and similar other processes of transcendental realization are recommended. According to them, bhakti, or the devotional service of the Lord, is meant for those who cannot perform the high-grade activities, such as what was just discussed. Sacrifice, charity, austerity, knowledge, mystic power. If you can't do that, then you can do bhakti. That's the misconception. In other words, bhakti is lower. Good for children and grandmothers, but for serious spiritual aspirants, no. They have to do sacrifice, austerity, knowledge, mystic power. Generally, it is said that the bhakti cult is meant for the Shudras, Vaishyas, and the less intelligent women class. But that is not the actual fact. The bhakti cult is the topmost of all transcendental activities, and therefore it is simultaneously sublime and easy. It is sublime for the pure devotees who are serious about getting in contact with the Supreme Lord. And it is easy for the neophytes who are just on the threshold of the house of bhakti. So what Prabhupada is saying is, you can be a Paramahamsa, or you can be beginning, and bhakti is good for you. Any way you look at it, it's good for you at any stage. It's applicable to everybody. It is sublime for the pure devotees who are serious about getting in contact with the Supreme Lord. And it is easy for the neophytes who are just on the threshold of the house of bhakti to achieve the contact of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna is a great science, and it is open for all living beings, including the Shudras, Vaishyas, women, and even those lower than the low-born Shudras. So what to speak of the high-class men, like the qualified Brahmanas and the great realized kings. That's another way of saying it's for everybody. Because why would Prabhupada refer to Shudras or women or lower class? Because that's how Indians are trained to think. Everything's classified. So if you're in this class, then you're not eligible for Vedic spiritual process. You have to be a Brahmin. So Prabhupada's just listing, he's listing all the classes of people that some people in India may think are unqualified or disqualified. And he's saying, you're not even a Shudra, you're not even in the Vedic culture, you're outside the Vedic culture, then you're qualified. But that's hard for the Brahmins to accept, right? You know that even some of Prabhupada's godbrothers at the beginning didn't accept his disciples as Vaishnavas. Did you know that? He wouldn't, one godbrother, he came to visit Prabhupada, they offered him prasadam, he wouldn't take it because it wasn't cooked by Brahmin, it was cooked by Americans. You have Shudra, then below that you have Malecha, Yavana, and below that you have Americans. And below that you have hippie Americans. So it was the hippie Americans who were cooking. He said, no. So Prabhupada proved what was in the Shastra, that anybody could become a pure devotee. And then when these godbrothers saw that later, then they accepted. And they also accepted disciples from Americans and Europeans. The other high-grade activities designated as sacrifice, charity, austerity, etc. are all corollary factors following the pure and scientific bhakti cult. So Prabhupada was following this principle right in the beginning because he was initiating devotees right in the beginning. And very shortly after their first initiation, then he was making them Brahmins. The principles of knowledge and detachment are two important factors on the path of transcendental realization. The whole spiritual process leads to perfect knowledge of everything material and spiritual. And the results of such perfect knowledge are that one becomes detached from material affection and becomes attached to spiritual activities. Becoming detached from material things does not mean becoming inert altogether, as men with a poor fund of knowledge think. Naishkarma means not undertaking activities that will produce good or bad effects. Negation does not mean negation. In other words, Prabhupada's saying, why would you say you shouldn't undertake activities if they produce good effects? Well, Prabhupada means karmic good effects. Negation of the non-essentials does not mean negation of the essential. Negation does not mean negation of the positive. Negation of the non-essentials does not mean, the prayers Prabhupada's talking about, the impersonal school. Negate everything. When the positive form is realized, the negative forms are automatically eliminated. Therefore, with the development of the bhakti cult, with the application of positive service to the positive form, one naturally becomes detached from inferior things. And he becomes attached to superior things. Similarly, the bhakti cult, being the supermost occupation of all living being, leads him out of material sense enjoyment. That is a sign of a pure devotee. He is not a fool, nor is he engaged in the inferior energies, nor does he have material values. This is not possible by dry reasoning. This actually happens by the grace of the Almighty. In conclusion, one who is a pure devotee has all other good qualities, namely knowledge, detachment, etc. But one who has only knowledge of detachment is not necessarily well acquainted with the principles of the bhakti cult. Bhakti is the supermost occupation of the human being. So, we were talking in the car today that sometimes in Prabhupada's books he preaches about things that are quite commonly affect people in India. And this purport is, he's talking about this idea that, if you're, bhakti is not, it's not a process that, thank you, it's not a process that is considered austere or a process by which you become detached or you need detachment to do. It's like giving it an inferior position. So when we're reading this, we might say, well, I don't have a problem with all these things. But Prabhupada's dealing with it because it's common knowledge. So he's just addressing this misconception. So I thought we could focus on detachment as a byproduct of bhakti, and also the word haitukam, which means causeless, because one of the interesting things about Krishna consciousness is that the advancement we make is not really the advancement we make. Should I say that again? The advancement we make is not really the advancement we make. It's the advancement that Krishna and Guru make for us. And that's the meaning of haituki, or causeless. Because cause and effect means you can look back and say, this caused this, this caused this, this caused this. And if you say, how did you get from A to Z? You say Z or Z? Z. How do you get from A to Z? And you say, I don't know, it was causeless. I can't, it was kind of like this, I don't know. Somehow there, I ended up here. So that's bhakti. It's not logical that drug-addicted, sex-crazed hippies could become pure devotees unless there was something causeless that was going on, some kind of mercy that was intervening and interfering. So, one time Prabhupada was asked, what's the cause of bhakti if it has no cause? He said the mercy is causeless, and he said the causeless mercy is the cause. Did you get that? In other words, you get mercy what did you do? What did you do to deserve the mercy? Who knows if you deserved anything? And sometimes when Prabhupada was asked why someone gets the mercy and someone else doesn't, he didn't say they were devotees in the past. He didn't say they had done pious activity. He said they're fortunate and intelligent and they took the mercy. So his basic answer was somebody took it and somebody didn't take it. That was his basic answer. And so, how do we make advancement? We make the cause of bhakti as mercy. And what's the cause of the mercy? There is no cause. It's free for everyone. So that's the meaning of causeless mercy. So the cause, bhakti is causeless, and the causeless mercy is the cause. Are you confused? Causeless mercy is the cause of bhakti, which is causeless. Krishna's mercy is the cause. And if you take the mercy, then the mercy becomes the cause of you becoming Krishna conscious. And if you see, like the point is, could you become detached on your own? Could you have deep realization, spiritual realization on your own through austerity or whatever? And the answer is no. You could have a little, but without even trying for the realization, by the causeless mercy that comes as a byproduct of doing bhakti, you get this detachment. So you come from a wealthy family, you have everything, you meet Prabhupada, you do bhakti, you give it all up and you move in the brahmacharya ashram, and you sleep on the floor in a sleeping bag in a cold room in New York in the winter. How did that happen? That's mercy. You can't become that detached without mercy. And then you're a devotee, you're like a year in the movement, Prabhupada says, okay, go start a temple somewhere. And then you go start a temple, and you're preaching, you have all these realizations, people are becoming devotees. You've only, a year ago you were just an ordinary person, and now you've had all these realizations, people are becoming inspired, they're joining. Where do those realizations come from? That's mercy. Jnanam, vairagyam and jnanam. It's like this detachment comes, this knowledge comes, which is undeserving. We're not qualified for it. If you try to get that knowledge and that detachment by doing some other process, you could never get that high. So that's the meaning of causeless mercy. You do bhakti, and then you get these other things as byproducts, which are far greater than you could achieve if you tried to get them by endeavoring for them. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, an example. Somebody comes to visit our temple. They don't know anything about Krishna consciousness. And we're having a kirtan. No, you have to spin it around to tighten it. No, it's not that, it's this. It's this thing here. And do it later. It just has to be spun around, I think. So sometimes you see someone will come to the temple and they're just very open and they start dancing in the kirtan, their first time. And they're experiencing something that they've never experienced before. We're doing a program in America in a tourist area, and high schools from all over the country, which means 15 to 17-year-olds, would come all day. It was just busloads of high school kids during May, springtime. So we had this kirtan party. We had guitar, bass, keyboard, drums, drum machine. So it was like was like dancing music. So the kids would come by and they'd like just walk by and start to dance. Some of them would stop and watch us. And so our brahmacharis were trained to encourage them to dance with us. So we'd kind of like pull them in. We were actually, it was strategic. It wasn't just spontaneous. It was strategic. The music, the tempo, the men who were out there who knew how to engage people. So basically all day we were getting young people to do kirtan with us and dance. Because everybody likes music and everyone likes to dance. And many, many of the people, these are young kids who'd never heard of us or seen us before, would say, I've never had an experience like that in my life. Just, off the bus from some little town in America, do kirtan for 20 minutes, and it's, I've never had an experience like that in my life. That's causeless mercy. That they could not have that experience by their own effort. It is the mercy of the holy name. Another story. There's a devotee, I believe he teaches photography, and he brings students to Vrindavan to do their photojournalism of Vrindavan. Because why not bring them to Vrindavan? So I have a friend, he helps with the tour. And he said, the last tour, he said, at the end of the tour, these are kids, just ordinary kids, they're not devotees, they don't know anything about anything Vedic or yoga or anything. They're just students in a school who took a photography class who are now brought to Vrindavan. No interest in spirituality, at least externally. The last day, about 5 days in Vrindavan, the devotee who was taking them around, they all asked him this question. They said, Gopal, we all have a question. What is this that we're feeling in Vrindavan? Because they never felt that way before. That's causeless mercy. That they could never feel that way on their own. Standing on their head, chanting Om, whatever, making an effort, they couldn't feel that. But when you get the mercy is equipped with knowledge, detachment, and ananda. Right? So, sometimes when we're doing kirtan or we're chanting japa well, we feel something or we realize something that's very special. And at that time we can understand it's not coming from me, it's coming from the holy name. It's in the holy name, it's being gifted to me. And now that I have this gift, I have this experience, I have this feeling, and sometimes the feeling is a very detached feeling, like I don't care about anything else. I just want Krishna. You ever felt that way? That's mercy. That's causeless mercy. How could you feel that way? Only the most elevated people feel that way. And now we become devotees. A few weeks later, a few months later, we feel like, I don't want anything. I just want to give my life to Krishna. Some devotees felt that the day they met Prabhupada. So I give my life to you. The day they met him. The mercy was so powerful. Some were on the spot. I surrender. That's what this verse says. Detachment. How could you get that kind of detachment? You couldn't. And so, here are these young people, they're joining Prabhupada, they're becoming detached. Completely detached. They're 19 years old. That's unusual, right? That's causeless mercy. Krishna Vadaya, Krishna Prasnaya, Bhutavaya, Prabhupada tells a story during World War II in India. The British were encouraging or forcing Indians to join the military. Shri Gaura Nitai Ki Jai. Okay, let's give everyone a darshan. There's your darshan. Shri Gaura Nitai. They're effulgent. They're effulgent and the Pujari is effulgent. They made the Pujari effulgent. So they had an ad, the British government had an ad to enlist Indians in the military. And they said, put on the uniform and the uniform will show you what to do. Ever heard of that ad before? You put on the uniform. Now I got my military uniform, and just by putting on the uniform, then I'll get the Shakti. It'll teach you, in other words, you commit to that action. I'm going to fight for my country, put on the uniform, and the mentality will be there. So, Prabhupada asked us to do many things which were quite difficult, and beyond what we say in America, beyond our pay level. Can you do this? Oh, that's beyond my pay level. I only have a bachelor's degree. What you're asking is a PhD. That's beyond my qualification. So Prabhupada asked us to do many things beyond our qualification. And that was the mood, that if you take that service, the uniform will teach you. In this case, the uniform is the mercy. You take this service, oh, I can't do that. Yeah, well, take the service, and the mercy will enable you to do that. Because I have that personal experience. I think all of us who joined early on have that personal experience because there was very little training, sometimes zero training. It's just, here's the service, go out and do it. Right? You know the story of devotees. Prabhupada said, okay, we have to do a magazine, we have to publish books. And he gave it in the hands of devotees who, the only thing they ever had to do with magazines was read them. They had no knowledge of publishing. They figured out how to do it. Now, here's a really interesting story. You like interesting stories? It's interesting because it brings up a philosophical point. This is so interesting. Krishna book. Paintings in the Krishna book. The first Krishna book. Very simple paintings. Maybe like on the level of high school art students, or maybe college, beginning college. Not accomplished, but people learning how to paint, right? Very little detail. We have a Krishna book anyway? Now they put all the new paintings in the Krishna book, right? But you've all seen those paintings. There's no detail in them. It's just, you paint a devotee, there's no creases or anything, or one crease. There's no fine detail in it. Anyway, so the artist said, Prabhupada, should we go to art school? And Prabhupada said, no, just keep painting. Krishna will show you. Did you know that? These masterpiece paintings that we have now in our movement were painted by the same artist that painted the Krishna book paintings that look, to me, I don't want to offend anybody, but it looked like maybe a good high school artist. Not even really a good high school artist, like an okay. Wasn't it? Isn't it? It's pretty just kind of, yeah, that's nice. It's okay. And so they were feeling, many of them had come and they had dropped out of school, so that, that was, their capability was on a certain level when they became devotees. So naturally they thought, we should continue our education. And Prabhupada said, no, Krishna will educate you. And Krishna did. He said, just keep painting. Now, there's another story you may have never heard, because I only think there's two people in the world that have ever heard this story. Me and the devotee who told me. So now, my disciples also, they probably heard it. Now, we'll tell you this story. This is also a very interesting story. As book distribution was increasing and devotees were learning how to distribute books, then one devotee thought, why don't we create a manual? This is how to do it. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So that way we could train everybody, because some devotees were really good, and some devotees weren't. So, by Krishna's arrangement, some of the two devotees, which were probably within the top 10 book distributors in the world at that time, got to meet Prabhupada and present their idea. So they presented it to Prabhupada, and he said, said it's okay. He said, but it's a little artificial. So what did Prabhupada mean? So he explained. He said, every man is his own genius. And artificial man is kind of like this is how you do it. But you have your own genius within you. So you have your own creativity. You have your own way of doing it. So just to say, do it this way, it's a little artificial. So he wasn't against it in principle, but the rigidness of it. Like, okay, here's how to do it. If you say this, a person will stop. If you say this, they'll take a book. If you say that, they won't. But, from there, you take it. That's the ABCs, and you take it and develop your own style. So that was Prabhupada's mood. Every man is his own genius. So the whole Krishna conscious movement in the early days was based on this principle. That there's causeless mercy, which is available to those who put on the uniform. And when you put on the uniform, then you get the Shakti to do it. The uniform will teach you how to do it. And that was Prabhupada's principle. So that's the meaning of jnanam. Causeless knowledge comes as a result of bhakti. And also, Dadami Buddha Yogam Tam. I was telling Saki Roy that when I look at the material world and I look at my work in trying to help people get out of the material world, to me it's kind of like everybody's tied up and I'm showing them how they're tied up. I said, you're tied up and you want to get out of here because there's a tsunami coming and sooner or later it's going to capture you, so you have to learn how to get untied so you can run away from it. So we're showing people how to get untied, isn't it? This is how we're entangled. You got a knot here, a knot there, it's tied this way, you can untie it this way. We're showing people how to get out. And that's what Krishna's doing also. Tadami Buddha Yogam Tam. Right? Do you think you could figure out how to get out of the material world on your own? If the answer was yes, you wouldn't be here. You would have figured it out. And all of us who become devotees, we figured something out. But something is not enough. Yeah, we kind of understood something's wrong here, and sattva. Subconsciously we could understand, the country is more peaceful and being nice is better than being angry. But to actually understand the science, no way. So when we get causeless mercy, we get clarity. We were saying yesterday, someone like Gorkha Das Babaji was a great scholar and he couldn't read. How did that happen? Because beyond the modes of nature, there's knowledge. So he knew everything. Now, sometimes you're going to say, I can't do that. It's beyond my pay level. Can you do this? I can't do it. Somehow or other, in the Hare Krishna movement that I joined, nobody thought like that. That was not like, it's just, I don't think we were any better than you, but it's just that wasn't the culture. And why that wasn't the culture is because every few months, or maybe you could say every couple times a year, something new and incredible would happen that wasn't done before, done by somebody who really had no specific background to enable them to do something that wonderful. They just did it. So that kind of became a paradigm. So-and-so went out and broke the new book distribution record. There was nothing about so-and-so that would indicate that he was qualified to do that, other than he decided, I want to do it. And he got the inspiration. And so this was happening all around us. This one was doing this one was doing that. And so it kind of became a culture. So when it was your turn to put on the uniform to fight in a battle that you weren't trained to fight, it was kind of just normal. Oh, okay, that's what you do. So it was a lot of dependence on mercy. That we kind of knew, if we take that step, the mercy will be there. And then we would share these stories. And there were so many stories of devotees doing things, especially on book distribution, that were were mystical, incredible, far beyond their ability. And as we'd share these stories, we'd understand this is causeless mercy. Now, another thing that's very interesting. I like to listen to Prabhupada's morning walks. I have all Prabhupada's morning walks on my phone. And so, those walks span from maybe like 1970, they started recording them, until 77. You have 7 years of morning walks. And he walked almost every day. And so, obviously, the disciples on the morning walks are young men and women and young devotees. 2-3 years in the movement. Listen to a morning walk in 1970. How long has everyone on that morning walk been in the movement? Maximum, usually a couple of years. Most of them, less than a year. And listen to the discussions they're having. It doesn't sound like someone who's just been a devotee 6 months. It sounds like the discussion of someone who's been a devotee all their life. The realizations, the understanding they're having. How is that possible? Someone off the street a year later has these amazing understandings of Krishna consciousness on a deep level. How is that possible? Causeless mercy. It's so amazing to listen to those conversations when you reflect on the fact that most devotees on these morning walks are 23 years old and they joined 3 years ago. And the kata, the level of kata and the realization and understanding and the faith that you can feel in the discussion, it doesn't equate to that. It doesn't make sense. That's causeless mercy. Causeless mercy fills in this gap between where Krishna consciousness is, where you are, and the limitation of where you can go, and the mercy just takes you, right? So you might say, Balabi, why don't you give Bhagavatam class? I've given so many classes, I'd like to hear you give class. I'm going to step down now. And your first thought may say, well, I can't give a class like you. But, or you might say, I can't even give a class. And every devotee who's given class, even the ones who may feel like that, are amazed when they give a class at what they said. Isn't it? I can't believe I said that. And how many times have we given class and said something that we never said before? And we're like, where did that come from? And we're looking around the room. Wow. Krishna must be in the room speaking in my ear because I've never said that before. And one thing that's very funny for me is that sometimes I record my classes, and I have a lot of classes that are recorded on the phone. So sometimes when I just want to hear something, I'll say, well, I'll hear my own class. Well, what did I say last year in Italy? What did I say last year in London? And so many times I will hear things, and I said that? I have no remembrance that I said it at all. And I'm learning from my own class. Is that amazing? One time Prabhupada was reading his books and his disciple said, Prabhupada, you're reading your own books. He said, I didn't write these books. He said, I could not write these books. It's not possible. It is not possible I could have written these books. That's mercy. So, when you understand that if you have mercy, you can become very detached and very knowledgeable and do things which ordinarily you couldn't do, you lose that fear. Because it's just, I put on the uniform dictates. That's the idea. And that's really the principle which spread Krishna consciousness. And we experience that every day. Just the fact that we're here is causeless mercy, isn't it? And you can get up in the morning, chant your rounds, that's amazing. And every realization you have, it's causeless mercy. It's a gift, which is not earned, but given because of our effort. Krishna likes to see the effort, not the qualification, and then he gives the mercy as a result of the effort, not as a result of qualification. Now I'm going to tell you another story. What if I told you right now, all of you someday will have to become guru? What would you think? I already know what you would think, but you can tell me anyway. Unbelievable. Yeah, exactly. No way. It's not going to happen. Impossible. Yeah. So that's kind of how we felt because as early as 1969, Prabhupada said, all of you will have to become guru. And then again in 1975, said, I want all my disciples to become guru. So in 1975, I was 25 years old. I'd been a devotee 5 years. How do you think I felt when Prabhupada said, you have to become guru? It's like you say, yeah, impossible, unbelievable, no way. At the same time, we understood that this was an order from our spiritual master, and you can't write it off. He wants you to do it. So, you definitely need mercy to do it, don't you? Now, let's look at it this way. Guru can mean many things. There are many kinds of gurus. So we'll use it generically. But we'll use it in the sense that if you're a guru, you are going to take responsibility to help somebody become Krishna conscious, get out of the material world. Right? You're going to do that. Now, don't you think if you fully take that responsibility wholly upon yourself, if you put on the uniform, clean, pressed uniform, I'm going to do this, don't you think Krishna will tell you what to say to that person? Don't you think Krishna will give you the power to be a good example? A better example than you could ever be on your own, to share knowledge or realization far greater than you could ever give on your own? The answer is obviously yes. And so as you take responsibility to move out of your comfort zone, to do something that Krishna wants you to do, or your guru wants you to do, or Prabhupada wants us to do, what happens? You make more advancement because now Krishna has to give you the realization and the detachment and the ability to do it. And that's how you grow. And if you say, oh, I could never give class, how will you grow? Right? Or we could say, we could change it. Sit on the seat and the seat will give you knowledge. You know, sometimes I've been asked to give class in Vrindavan and I feel that way. I feel like there's so many exalted devotees have sat on that seat, Bhagavatam seat, that all I have to do is sit on the seat. And I think the best classes I've ever given are in Vrindavan. I just sit on the seat and the seat speaks for me. There's something like that. So, you know, when you want to be utilized by your spiritual master, by Prabhupada, by Krishna, to do something which you may feel incapable of doing, and Krishna sees, okay, Prabhupada sees you want to do this on my behalf, he'll tell you what to do. There are many times I will sit down and give class and I'll think, Prabhupada, what do you want me to tell the devotees? So I'm looking out there and say, I don't know what they need to hear. And then sometimes I really feel that Prabhupada dictated what I should say. I just felt that this class wasn't coming from me. It just had a life of its own. And it was really Prabhupada. And so when you're in that mood, Gurudev, Prabhupada, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? Then he can use you. And I'll give an example. This is a very nice example to understand Prabhupada's position. After Prabhupada achieved success, one of his godbrothers was commenting on his success, and he said, amongst all of us, no one was as successful as Prabhupada. And he said, the reason that he was successful is because not one of us could be used by Krishna as Prabhupada could be used, because he had no other desire than to be used by Krishna. So therefore he was the most successful. Oh Lord, I'm just a puppet in your hands. If you brought me here to dance, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance as you like. So there was no independent desire. So this godbrother said, therefore Krishna could fully manifest his Shakti within Prabhupada. And that's why Prabhupada was so successful. And then he went on to say it was actually Nityananda Nityananda Prabhu was working through Prabhupada. Because only Nityananda Prabhu could go to New York and make hippies into devotees. Who else could do it? Because Nityananda Prabhu is the savior of the most fallen. So it had to be Nityananda working through Prabhupada to do that. And you'll see that even though Prabhupada is a pure devotee, came to spread Krishna consciousness, he'll still say, it's not me. It wasn't me. It was my guru. So he's not denying that he was successful. He's not denying that he translated these books. He's not denying that he opened temples and made disciples. But what he's saying is it wasn't my ability, it was my Guru Maharaj working through me. Put on the uniform and the uniform will teach you. That's the principle. So that's how mercy works. And without mercy, we're pretty much failures, isn't it? So we depend on mercy. And this is the process of bhakti. And so what you'll find is, the better your sadhana, the more realization you'll get. The more detachment you get. Not because it's coming from you, but it's coming from the mercy that you get through the sadhana. Isn't it? We all experience this. When sadhana is not good, attachment is higher. Sadhana is better, attachment is higher. And detachment is higher when sadhana is better. And it's not because I'm so detached. I mean, we all have levels of detachment due to our samskara and past karma. But we're talking about detachment coming from bhakti. It's not my detachment. It's the detachment I'm given. And if you need detachment to do your service, Krishna will give it if you surrender to the service. He'll give you the knowledge and detachment you need to be able to do it. So you might say, I can't distribute books, and I'll say, perfect. That's the perfect consciousness to go out and do it, that I can't do it. Now you're ready. I can't give class. Perfect. Go up there and sit and think, Prabhupada, I can't give class. Can you speak through me? You know, it's funny, because the early days, this was the culture. So they'd say, Mahatma Prabhu, you're going to cook for the deities. And I'll say, okay, who's going to train me? And say, it's very simple. You go in the kitchen, you pay obeisances, you pray to Radharani, teach you how to cook, and you start cooking. And that's how we learn to cook, basically. A slight exaggeration, but predominantly that was it. You know, here's the spice that you just throw this in and that and do this, you know. We're boys, we don't know how to cook. And that's kind of how we learn to cook. So that's the way we learn to be Krishna conscious. I'm not saying it's necessarily the best way to learn how to cook, but at the same time, there is that element that Krishna, you know, what do you want to eat and how do you want to eat it, and guide me. Right? So, we can stop here. Do you have any questions, comments? Yes?
The prayer is the...
We pray?
Prayer is the uniform you put on. Just like you said, you pray to Radharani, teach me how to cook.
Yeah.
So that's the uniform you put on.
The uniform is?
Uniform you put on.
Yeah.
When you pray.
You could say that, yeah. You could pray to put the uniform on.
The uniform is the mercy comes to.
The uniform is the effort. The uniform is the effort. And then the effort will give you the mercy. So when you say, put on the uniform, it's like, okay, now I'm committing. I'm going to go fight. And because of that commitment, then Krishna kicks in to give the intelligence, to give the detachment, to give the power. The way I understand it is, there's a really nice, if I had my computer I could read it to you, there's a quote that is quite well known, not by Prabhupada, but by a writer or philosopher who said that when you commit, everything starts to fall in place. People show up, strength, knowledge, everything just falls in place when you commit. So I think Prabhupada's example, what he gives is, you know, he humbly says, I didn't feel qualified to do this service, but it was my Guru Maharaj who wanted it. So Prabhupada getting on the boat, that's putting on the uniform. Kind of, you know, I'm going to go to America and make America Krishna conscious. Well, how do you do that? He had no idea. And that poem, Markandeya Bhagavad Dharma, expresses that he had no idea. He said in the poem, I don't know how to do this. But then he said, I don't know how they're going to understand the message of Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam is like the highest, purest literature, and we're going into basically the lowest, the most opposite position. So in his poem he was saying, how are they going to understand the Bhagavatam? But I'm praying that you make my speaking suitable for their understanding, and you're in their heart, and if you like, you could make them understand. right? So that was Prabhupada's mood, you know. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I got the uniform. And so, you know, it's like once you put the uniform on and go out to fight, you're going to be praying a lot, aren't you? Because you don't know how to fight yet. How do I shoot this gun? And the guy next to you, just hold it like this and shoot it. Okay, and you're fooling around, you know, trying to shoot it. You know. But finally, you know, you learn how to do it. So I'm not advocating that we don't train devotees, but that story of Prabhupada saying every man's his own genius is a little artificial if there's too much training. That's a good story. It balances. So anytime you're making an effort to do something that's difficult or beyond what you think you're capable of, you're putting on the uniform. Does that make sense? Yes?
Roji, how can we understand that mercy is causeless from the viewpoint of Damodar Lila? Because we hear that when Krishna saw Mother Yashoda endeavoring, and thereafter the mercy flowed, and therefore it can be said that the endeavor was the cause of the mercy.
Yeah.
So how can we call that causeless?
Okay, good question. Mother Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna, and Krishna wouldn't let her bind him. She got every rope in the village, and every time she'd tie the rope, it was 2 fingers too short. And she had like a mile of rope, or a few hundred meters of rope. Still it was. And then at one point, Krishna saw, Mother Yashoda is trying so hard. She's perspiring. He said, I don't want to see her suffer anymore. He said, okay. You know what she tied Krishna with? It wasn't even a rope. It was a hair tie. That's what she tied him with. The ropes wouldn't work, and now the hair tie works. So, in answer to your question, it's simultaneously causeless, but yetamam prapadyante. I will reciprocate 10, 100, 1,000 times more, but you have to do something. Son, start the business, get it working, I'll invest, but start it. Put in $100, I'll put in $1 million, but put in 100. So, and the explanation is that if mercy is given to those who don't make the effort, it would be just like giving money to your son who doesn't make the effort to do the business. You can't use it. Now I have a story. This is an amazing story. You're going to love this story. And this story is, you probably haven't heard it, and it's very interesting, and it'll spin your head around a little bit trying to understand it. But a devotee was praying to Prabhupada to get Krishna's mercy, and Prabhupada said, you're not qualified to get his mercy. He said, because if you got it, you would become famous, and you wouldn't be able to handle it. He said, if you got Krishna's mercy, you become effulgent, powerful, attractive, and people would start falling at your feet, throwing their lives at your feet, throwing money at you, giving you their homes, their cars. Here, take me. I love you. Take the keys to my new car. I want to give it to you. He said, if Krishna gave you his mercy, you wouldn't be able to handle it. So Krishna's careful how much mercy he gives. So he doesn't want to give it until you're sweating a bit, right? So still causeless because it's never deserved, but it seems like it's deserved according to like Krishna's calculation of how to give it. But we can say even the effort we make, it doesn't, what Krishna gives us is not equivalent to the effort, but he needs to see the effort. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, if you don't make the effort, you won't attract the mercy. So it seems to be a contradiction, effort and mercy. But because it's personal, we can't look at it as a system or a process. We have to look at it as a relationship. like Saki Roy might say to his wife, I'll roll the chapatis, you cook them. It's like agreement.
I need mercy for that.
Or he might say to his wife, you cook, I'll wash the pots. Or she might say, you cook, I'll wash the pots. So it's a personal thing. So when Krishna's giving mercy, it's personal. Because he's giving you what you need according to what you can handle. But it's still causeless because it's far beyond what we're qualified for. So it's always going to be causeless, even if we deserve it. Krishna just wants you to qualify a little bit so that when he gives you the mercy, it won't destroy you. It's like, okay, Prabhupada gives me mercy, I'm praying, and I give a class. And I feel Prabhupada's mercy that he was directing me how to give the class. And after the class, everyone says, Mahatma Prabhu, that was the best class I've ever heard. And immediately I become puffed up. And I walk out thinking, yeah, I must be like the best devotee in ISKCON, Because, who gives class when everyone says that's the best class they've ever heard? Because there could only be one best class. There could be better and good, but best. So that must mean I'm the best devotee. At least I'm the best class giver, right? And it completely goes to my head. So, if Krishna knows that's going to happen, he might make me babble a bit during class. So this verse is about, what's it about anyway? Devotional service. It's about devotion. And I can't say anything. Because Krishna, he saw in the last class, everybody said I'm the best thing that hit ISKCON. And now in this class, he says, okay, fun's over. You puffed up fool. I'm going to show you where you're at. And you try to give a class, and you read the verse and purport. You have nothing to say. Any questions? You can't say anything. Mukam karoti vachalam pangulangayate girim. By mercy of Guru, a dumb man can speak poetry, a blind man can see stars in the sky, a lame man can cross mountains. That's it, right? So that was our mood. And the reason we had that mood in the early days is because it was obvious that we were not qualified. It was obvious we were either dumb, lame, or blind, or all three. And then Prabhupada's giving us the order. You, lame man, you see that mountain? Climb to the top. Jai Prabhupada! And we'd start running, even though we didn't know how to walk, and all of a sudden we could run to the top of the mountain. And those experiences built so much faith that we could try to do the impossible. We weren't mental. Because we weren't even proud of our qualification. We just knew we didn't have any. So in a sense, when you don't have it, it's a little easier to try to climb the mountain because it's so far-fetched that if you don't, you're not going to be depressed because you don't even know how to walk. But the Guru says walk, and then you do it. Just like the Guru told the Brahmin, read Bhagavad Gita. He's illiterate, and he reads it. He's not really reading it, but he's trying, and he's glorified. You're the real student of Bhagavad Gita. Because he was crying. He was entering the mood of the Gita. So, that's how it works. Isn't that amazing? Prabhupada said, I want mercy, you're not qualified. You couldn't handle it. So Krishna will give you mercy you can handle. Otherwise you'll strangle yourself with the mercy. Mercy becomes poison, become proud. I give class, or I'm talking to devotee, and I have all these realizations, right? How should I think? I should think, thank you, Krishna. You've given me these realizations. You've let me speak. Otherwise, I'm a fool and an idiot. What do I know? But you've allowed me to understand something that I could share with devotees. And then you understand it's because I want to share it, not because I want to be glorified for it, that Krishna will give me those realizations. Or it's because I want to advance in Krishna consciousness, he'll give me realizations, because I need them to advance. Thank you, Krishna, for giving me the realization. I pray to be sincere. I pray to represent my spiritual master. That's the mood. Then he gives you more, right? He gives you $1 million, and then you go buy a 15,000 square foot mansion, a Lamborghini, a Rolls Royce, and it's like, okay, Krishna's like, that's it, Prabhu, no more, right? He gives you $1 million, you take it here, Money for the temple's ready. Okay, he gives you another. He knows you know how to use it. He gives you another million. Another million. Yes?
I was just saying, it seems similar to that, to where Radharani gets some pride and he disappears during the last Leela. And the gopis are looking for him. The gopi comes after that.
Yes. Well, Krishna doesn't. He doesn't like his devotees to become proud. So sometimes they become proud and he chastises, and sometimes he chastises before they become proud. He reveals their stupidity. Have you ever done something stupid and realized Krishna made you say that just because you needed to come down a few notches? Having had that realization and knowing how easy it is to become proud, I'm always aware to be thinking that if I become proud, Krishna will definitely let me know and make a fool out of me and take away my power, because why is he going to give power to someone who's going to misuse it? And so I feel that to do my service, I need to be humble, because I need power beyond my own power to be successful. And if I'm not humble, he's not going to give it. So that's why, taking that step to do something that's more difficult, it makes you humble. Because you don't know how to do it unless Krishna helps you. So it increases your humility. So we could add to this verse jnana, vairagyam, and dainya, humility. Because that's how you become empowered, right? Anything else? Anything less? Anything more? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari.